Hello there and welcome along to Ekstraklasa Ekstratime, our weekly magazine show on Sports Night reflecting our 3 live games from Poland's top flight. Coming up, we'll have loads of Ekstraklasa goals, we'll have Polish biscuits, we might even have some cake a little bit later. Agata Lee delivers, and we'll have the tennis ball test, debuting our test of true skill for our panel on the couch. And that powerhouse panel is once more with me in some style this afternoon. From left to right, it's Robert Błaziak, our Polish football expert, part-time model, aspiring pop artist as well. Something in the line possibly with Rihanna, which I know you can't talk about, Robert, but you're looking good today. Welcome once more to you. Chris Graham, all the way back from Mexico and Medina, our betting guru, looking tanned and well. And
tired.
And hopefully found yourself out there, Chris, a voyage of discovery, I'm sure, in the Ryder Cup as well. And then Bartek Zielinski, our Wisla Krakow fan, second time on the couch. Bartek, first of all, commiserations to you and Wisla, and your manager's gone now.
I like that Agata sent some cake. It will be a bit of sweetness.
But so Wisla Krakow, it's a tough time for your side, isn't it? 11th in the table. Michał Probierz resigned after defeat against Ekstraklasa.
It's very sad, but I mean, it's wind of change, and then depends how they will sort it out. I mean, I don't know. It's Wisla. Wisła's owner is unpredictable.
You've got a legend now, a club legend. A man has played there for
I mean, he knows the
years.
club from inside and outside, so just I hope that players will believe in him. So that's all.
So what do you think, Robert? 4 managers have now been changed in Ekstraklasa. There's only 16 teams, so a quarter of them have gone.
I really hope the Premier League managers are watching the show and they will realise how lucky they are.
Yeah, it's like a safe job, isn't it? Basically, Premier League manager.
Basically, I mean, look at Mark Hughes. You know, if he was an Ekstraklasa,
He'd
you
be
know,
well gone.
He'll be gone 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
You know, we criticise in the UK about how trigger happy.
Yeah,
shit,
exactly. Yeah.
This is just an extreme example
It's
of Poland.
especially now that some of the clubs are doing rather well. You know, are not too bad. They're not like that bad.
Well, you've been away for a couple of weeks, Chris.
Yeah.
Especially in your absence, we've seen Widzew Łódź go to the top of the table. Robert said they'd falter. They did falter. They haven't won in 2. They lost for the first time on Friday. And now Ekstraklasa, who beat Wisla, have won 4 on the spin to go second in the table.
Absolutely extraordinary. And I've been keeping an eye on the Polish stuff since I've been away. I've been getting it piped through to Chicago. Everything's been happening from Ekstraklasa. And some extraordinary results. And Piast is one of the things that surprised me. 4 wins in a row now. Robert, any chance of them finishing in the top 3 even?
No.
Nah.
No, absolutely.
You thought that you were impressed with them against Wisla, weren't you, Bartek?
I mean, I was impressed with that, but you know, but it happened once in recent years that in like Śląsk and Ruch who were in top 3 after the end of the season. Usually, as I said on the 2 weeks ago on the show, second part of the season is important. How they will.
Yeah.
How they will play.
Gain momentum.
I mean,
it's that 2-month winter break as well. Trying to get your head around that from a British perspective is going to be interesting. Let's see some of the action then, shall we, from the weekend. Started Friday night. Polonia Warszawa looking for their first win at home against Widzew Łódź, who were 100% to that point. And it went the way of Polonia, who we thought were a counter-attacking side. But they beat Widzew Łódź fairly comfortable. And Łukasz Teodorczyk again getting them underway. What about this young striker?
It's well, first of all, it's a decent strike, but we shouldn't forget that it was Widzew defense shambles that allowed so many goals to let in. I mean, what the goalkeeper is doing, Maciej Mielcarz here, it's, you know, he can only tell you himself. And there was a number of.
And then in the second half, the other star, Paweł Szołek.
There we go. Well, Paweł Szołek, you know, that's a good finish. But again, what is goalkeeper doing? Why did he run all the way forward? Why he didn't just stay between the sticks, you know?
We've seen a few interesting goalkeeping moves, haven't we, the last week?
That's, you know, so sometimes, of course, it's nice to see the players doing well, but, you know, there are so many defensive mistakes that have to be also addressed.
With Szołek, you see him there, he's caused a few problems like that already, hasn't he? His pace, Bartek, as well. He's a very quick player.
Yeah, I would like to have him in Wisla, honestly. I would like to have him in Wisla. He's better than our wingers.
Yeah, you've got Melikson and Ilic.
Yeah, I mean, Melikson is more in central midfielder. On the wing, he feels.
So a penalty for Widzew Łódź, get back into this game.
I mean, this is, again, Broś had that penalty executed, but Polonia counter-attacked
But it's
quickly.
the speed of Polonia on the break is frightening, isn't it? I mean, this must make them surely contenders to do well.
But this is the freshness of that team that didn't have the proper pre-season, you know. They are not tired approaching the season. They're actually fresh as they just started.
Gobiewski with his second goal of the season there. So they've got people scoring regularly, Polonia. Are they a genuine threat? Because they're up there top 4.
I mean, their ex-owner slowed them down.
Yeah.
When he left, they feel refreshed, you know. There is a better atmosphere inside Polonia squad, much better atmosphere. They don't feel that pressure from Józef Wojciechowski.
No, they can express, yeah.
And you're the word of caution now, Robert. We'll keep writing off all these teams that do well, like Widzew Łódź. But I tell you what, the teams at the very summit of the league keep throwing away points as well, and we saw that again on Sunday. Lech Poznan going to Legia Gdansk, and Gdansk hadn't yet picked up any points on home soil, and Lech Poznan just can't score a goal, can they? And we saw first of all, it was a second goal, it was phenomenal, but Poznan just didn't impress.
Well, but this is the biggest problem of Polish football, that the clubs, when they have to step up, when they have the chance to go summit, like in the finale of the last season, no one actually seems to be bothered to actually go on top. Maybe because of the pressure that's associated with being the league leaders. I don't know. But
they've won 1 in 3 now, haven't they, Lech Poznan, or something like that? They've started
against Buatov. They really didn't deserve to beat them 2 weeks ago. So that was the start of the decline really for Lech Poznan. But yeah, alarming stuff. 1 point in the last 6 and costly time.
Shall we have a quick look at this then? Legia Gdansk picking up their first points at home.
I can wait
on
for
the
second
seaside.
goal.
Yeah. I know the second goal was incredible. We can look at the first goal first and foremost though, and it was a good header, wasn't it?
I mean, it's a decent header again. It's something that the defensive mistakes should be addressed because there's no communication. You know, Wisniewski made a nice header, but there's no communication between.
And he'd injured the centre half before this.
That's correct. His former colleague at Legia, you know, so at Lech, sorry.
Was it Volkovic? Was it? Yeah, I think it was.
Well, what goalkeeper did? The shot was in the middle of the goal.
You blame the keeper for that?
Yeah.
It's got right under his crossbar, I suppose.
Well, I mean, Benzema scored a goal from the bicycle kick last night. So,
so let's say goalie positioning was bad.
Well, what about the goalkeeper on the second goal? Because I don't think anyone could do anything about this. Have you seen this yet, Bartek? Abdu Traore Razak, 23 years old from Burkina Faso, and what a special effort. They call it a Bobby Blazek, don't they?
This is a local tradition of Polish
Robert
football.
Robert claimed this is one of his specials when he was growing up.
But the
killer for Lech Poznan, and what a finish!
You know, the way how he positioned his body is absolutely perfection.
He's almost won goal of the season competition in Ekstraklasa already, hasn't he?
We don't have to start. I mean, we know the acrobatics of the play. You know, he enjoys doing these things. We have seen that him trying to step up on his hands in order to stop that long kick into the box.
Interesting from the betting perspective as well, because Legia Warszawa have drawn the last 3, but they've got goal scorers in Sakanovsky and Leboja, and obviously Legia Gdansk got one there, but you see like Lech Poznan not scoring goals, just one in the last 3, and you have to look at that, I guess, from a betting perspective, see how long can they last, because you can only win so many games 1-0, you have to be able to score a few more goals.
Absolutely, for me they're a team to be dodged now. I would be avoiding Lech Poznan, I wouldn't be getting stuck into Poznan at all. Like I say, one of my big bets in the time we've been doing this Ekstraklasa was to beat Buatov. I expected them to win easy that day, and they just got past them. So for me, I'll be staying away from Lech Poznan in the betting. But the two that impressed me so far are Polonia and Gornik over the 2 weeks. Keep an eye on the scores. Those two sides look they could be right up there.
Beat Slons 4-1 last weekend as well. And it's interesting how things change, haven't they? Because Lech Poznan scored 6 goals in the opening sort of 2 weeks, so they looked set as a title favourite. We saw PS Gliwice lose in front of our cameras. The very first game we did on Sports Tonight, lost at home to Gornik Zabrze. Then they lost the following week. They got men sent off in both games. Thought, fear the worst, promoted side, going to go down. But then we see them this week win their 4th consecutive game on Monday night against, Bartek, Wisla Krakow. But how impressive! We can have a look at their highlights because they were so solid.
The credit should be given to Piast because their performance was just right. I mean, this is a really nice long ball with the clearance. And then Kędziora, held off to the ball.
Let's talk about goalkeeping. How do you feel about Sergei Pareko, Bartek? Your keeper has not been that great this season, has he?
If I had a shotgun, I would just shot him. Honestly, it was just it's Payne.
I just can't understand it. I just think he's almost fallen asleep there. Because you look at that, it's how do you not save that?
There's been so many goalkeeping mistakes in Ekstraklasa stuff. Skorupski 3 weeks ago as well for Gornik, and so many red cards. That for me the 2 themes we saw so far in Ekstraklasa.
But the second goal, Bartek, this must have killed. And Probesh resigned after this, the manager. Yeah. And you see the players weren't even trying to get back for it, were they? Ruben Gerardo puts it on the plate.
That's what I said. They played against their manager. They played like they didn't want him to.
Yeah.
Because
it was the captain Glavaski who headed it on. Gerardo chased that goal down then. And then Glavaski didn't even bother coming back to defend the situation.
Precisely. This is where the ball went to, and Glavaski wasn't there to stop it. It's just poor mistakes. And something that, I think that Probesh did what he's supposed to do. So when players like Gargua was not playing well, he dropped him, he tried to play youngsters, and regardless of that, he still didn't have a chance to continue, which upsets me a bit.
So tell us about your new manager.
He's a Wisla legend. Tomasz Kulawik is a Wisla legend. He's been, early 90s. He was bought early 90s from Zagłębie Sosnowiec. He played 257 games for Wisla. He was long-standing Wisla captain. He was always at the back. He was not shiny, you know,
No.
but he was solid performer.
Couple of Poland caps as well. Never really a regular.
His
for the
first cap
international.
was at Wisla Stadium against Israel, and yeah, he was a solid performer, and he was already twice a caretaker manager of Wisla. Actually, 13 games.
But he's been given the job now until the end of the season.
That's what they promised him, but with Wisla owner, you never know.
But what's the remit? Because he said they're 11th in the league now, but you said to me it's not to get them up the league necessarily, it's to just play some attractive football.
That's what he said. I want my team to play attractive football. He likes, you know, Krakow school of football, so lots of passes, nice, everything is flowing nicely, moving between defense and midfield and
Tiki-taka of
Krakow tiki-taka, yeah. So that's what he likes. That's what Kazimierz Moskal tried to do before. It started working, but he didn't get result. That's why they put provision. Now there is Kulavik's time, and I hope he will stay till the end of the season, because I really hope, from deep of my heart, that Wisla guy will make it work.
Yeah, well, let's hope for, in talking of skillful football, we hope he's going to bring that to Wisla, but let's talk about our skill test, tennis ball test. We decided that people on the show needed to have some ball skills, really, and be able to demonstrate their football prowess. Coming up after the break, we'll see Robert Błaziak's effort and Bartek's effort. But first, before we go to that break, here's a little sample of myself introducing the tennis ball test, which will become an institution of British and indeed world television, we think, maybe. Right, tennis ball test. Here are the rules. 1 tennis ball, 3 attempts to do as many keepy-uppies as you possibly can. No time limit to it. Don't even have to set yourself up. You can drop the ball, bounce once, and then it's juggle away. Have to keep it roughly in the square around me on our wonderful set here for Ekstraklasa Ekstratime. Now I suppose it's time to get started setting that bar for Bobby Błaziak. Let's give it a whirl, shall we? It's been a while since I've done this. Back at school, we weren't allowed to play with real footballs in the playground. Had to be tennis balls. Let's see how I fare. It's been 15 years since then. Let's see how we get on. So 1 bounce and then go. Oh, 21. Ooh, 16. Take 3. Ah, 17. Well, after 3 attempts, we'll have to look at the replay, but my guess is 21. Beat that, Bobby. What can I say? The kid's the real deal. I tell you what. What do you think, guys? Think Robert Błaziak can beat that?
I will. 4 to 1 he does.
He's got the best touch. He said he can score overhead kicks. You know, he said he's called Peter Crouch. So.
I mean, 50-1.
50, yeah, that's more realistic.
Well, there we have it then. After the break, we will see what kind of shape Robert Błaziak's in and what kind of shape his excuses are in as well. The next part of Ekstraklasa Ekstratime. Robert, have a biscuit. I think we've got some cake coming our way, but have a biscuit to just compose yourself. Gents?
I'm speechless.
I've had enough last 2
He's had
weeks.
enough. This was a tough time in Mexico. He's had too many quesadillas. We'll be back after the break, continuing Ekstraklasa Ekstratime and seeing what Robert's tennis ball touch is like. See you in a few moments. Welcome back to Ekstraklasa Ekstratime. We've had to pin Robert Błaziak down to the couch. He's been trying to get away, which I don't really understand, because if you've noticed beforehand the tennis ball test, I presume with you telling us that you're like Peter Crouch when you played at university, people thought you were like Crouchy, the touch, big man with a great touch. This should be easy for you, wouldn't it?
Ed, we're no longer friends. You didn't tell me about that test, and I have to tell you, I'm not looking forward to the video.
What do you think it's going to get? How many keepy uppies in the tennis ball test?
I'm going over 8.5, so I think 8 or 9.
Over under 2.5.
Over under 2.5. What odds would you give on over under 2.5?
I've got faith in Robert. 1 to 3 goes over 2.5.
1 to 3. We'll find out.
Can't be that bad, surely.
Robert Braziak's moment of destiny. I haven't seen this video yet, so I can't wait to see it. Here he is facing the tennis ball test. The big man with a fantastic touch, apparently. Robert Braziak, that was more like that was more like Napoleon Dynamite dance scene in the kid. What was going on there? What was your top score?
Look, I have to apologize.
4.
I would like to apologize to all the viewers for any offense caused by watching this video. It's just disastrous.
Well, I'll tell you what, 4. So we've got 21. We'll get the leaderboard mocked up for next week, and we'll get Bartek's performance later in the show as well. So 21 at the moment plays 4. But do it for all our guests as they come in to make sure everyone is put through the tennis ball test. Robert, you have got 2 months of the winter break, though. You can practice.
I certainly will, because this is a bit embarrassing. So I need to step up.
Everyone goes again after winter break. You have to go next week, Chris Graham.
I'm looking forward to it.
Right. Cake time. We've got the Polish cookies that have gone down well so far. Bartek always likes a cookie, but also some special cheesecake, Polish style cheesecake. Gents, how does that look?
It does look nice.
It looks nice.
We'll dig into it at the end of this next section, but first let's find out a little bit about it, because it's been skillfully and very kindly put together by our reporter Agatha Lee. Let's see how it was made.
Hi Ed, I hope you're well and you are having a great time and you are missing me dearly. Unfortunately, I can't be with you today on the sofa. I'm planning to pop in next Thursday. However, I thought that you might be really bored sitting down, talking about football, eating your dry biscuits. So look how kind am I? I decided to bake you a Polish royal cheesecake. So this is a speciality that my nan always used to bake for me, and it's also my favourite cheesecake. It's really nice and creamy with a chocolate top and a chocolate base. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, I guess. It looks lovely, doesn't it? Although, to be honest, a quarter of the cake's been disappeared, so I don't know who this production staff have been rampaging through it. We'll look forward to digging into that momentarily. As I say, Agatha Lee could almost have her own cooking programme, couldn't she? It looks lovely.
I think I want the cake even more now that it's been crafted by Agatha.
Yeah.
Sensational.
All right, that's the cake. We've done the tennis ball test. We've got one of those remaining, of course, with Bartek. But let's talk about the big game this Friday night, live on Sports Tonight. You've got any plans on Friday, cancel them, because it is going to be a fiery affair at the Pepsi Arena. Legia Warsaw against Bartek's beloved Wisla Krakow. Tell me about how big this game is, Bartek.
So after big Krakow derby with Cracovia, it's the second biggest game for Wisła fans. Now, because this season we haven't got Cracovia in Ekstraklasa, they are in lower league, so we got Legia. And now, because we are in poor...
But it's the biggest game in Poland for neutrals, isn't it?
Yeah,
These are the two biggest teams in recent years.
Precisely. I mean, I would compare that to United against Liverpool in English football. It is,
if Liverpool had won the league recently.
well, they did. Well,
So
but you know,
23.
No offence
yeah,
to Liverpool fans.
no offense. Of course, I mean, in terms of the magnitudes of both sides, historically, Widzew.
And is it two?
Wisla and Legia,
yeah.
they're really.
Is it two cities against each other as well?
Yes, Krakow.
Because you've got
and
Krakow,
Warsaw.
who used to be the capital to what, the 16th century, and they moved it to
And then
Warsaw.
they moved it, and now we don't want capital back, you know, so people, I mean, they don't like each other.
You still think Krakow's the best
We
city?
still call.
Yeah, we still call, you know, there is a joke, when entertainment life ends in Warsaw, when last train goes to Krakow.
Well, let's look at the head-to-heads, because it's quite interesting in this. It looks like that Legia have got quite a decent home record against the great rivals recently. You see that big win, 4-0 for Wisła in 2010-2011. That was a league season you won the league, of course,
yeah.
last. But last season, 2-0. Season before that, 2-0. You did get that big away victory, 2009-2010 season. Is it a daunting game for you to go to the Pepsi Arena, or do you think they'll step up to it and, with a new manager, be a bit of spice about the team?
Now we don't know. After the past game, I really don't know how it's gonna happen. If they played really against their manager, and if they want to show something, you know, against Legia, I don't know.
Well, the players have got to like this manager, haven't they? Because he's an institution. He's been there.
I mean,
he was at a youth academy.
Głowacki, some of the players, Arkadiusz Głowacki, Sobolewski, who is not going to play, they know him. They played each other.
Yeah.
I mean, so other players, youth players, they worked with him in Wisla youth side, that he was a manager of as well.
When he finished his career, he started to work with
the
youth.
youth setup,
so everybody knows him. Youngsters know him, so they got...
I think that's the key to the game, isn't it? New manager. How will Wisla cope with that? We saw it's working for Rook so far, isn't it? They won 2-1 new
working
manager.
for Slumps, really.
Tough at the first point of the season as well.
Yeah.
It's lost kind of up and down, but I think that's the key. How will they react to the new manager?
Well, let's look at the Wisła fact file. I think we can take a quick gander at that. So formed 1906, rich heritage, goes back 100 years, this rivalry, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And there's your new manager, Tomasz Kuławik. They've had to obviously change that, I suppose, this afternoon, that graphic. Nickname, the White Star.
As you can see,
14 titles. And most recent, 2011, so what's that, 16 months ago? What's happened in 16 months?
Well, what happens? We ran out of steam.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Older players, were they?
I mean, Wisła needs big change. This is a big club, big name, you know. That whenever Wisła plays with Legia, even if Wisła is in poor form or Legia is with poor, this is still a big game.
Yeah.
Inside the club, we need lots of changes because so far Wisła is heading in no direction. There is no direction whatsoever now.
Well, I think we can see some Wisła goals. I believe it's goals that Wisła have scored and not the goals scored against them, because Sergei Parayko would be having nightmares if he was watching this show, wouldn't he? That's the problem for Wisła, is it's scoring goals. We can see some of the action here, but generally they haven't scored many, have they?
I mean, this is one of the biggest things that probably...
This is the goal scored. I mean, this is the goal scored against them, isn't it? This is...
The thing is Piast. I mean, in the pre-match ahead of the Piast match...
Poor old Parayko.
Oh, goodness me. The full international for Estonia, you know, with I think 50 caps.
But we saw him drop a goal against Polonia Warszawa early in the season as well. I mean, have they got another keeper to come?
Yes, Michał Miśkiewicz. He was in reserves of AC Milan. He comes from the region of Krakow. He was always a supporter of Wisła.
And this is another mistake by Parayko, who drops the ball leading to a Polonia goal, the one I was referring to. And look, I mean, he has the ball, and then where does it go?
You see, but the problem is that the second choice, the second option for the Wisła goal, this guy was actually let go by AC Milan. So even though he might have been on the books of the great club, still they didn't want to keep him.
Yeah.
And it speaks a lot, you know.
But he was loaned to lower league clubs, so he's got some experience. Our previous reserve keeper.
And here's a goal they did actually score. I think it's Ilic who scores this goal, and he'd fallen out with Michał Probierz, the former manager, hadn't he?
Yeah,
he
didn't accept his approach to the team. Jovanovic, Iliev, and a few other players, Gergu as well, they didn't accept Probier's approach to the team, you know. So Probierz is pure professional. He's not like a friend of yours.
Yeah, no. He was a very strict manager, wasn't he? He looked like Pep Guardiola, or at least they said he looked relatively like him compared to most Polish football managers anyway.
He just looked like him.
No, looked like him, maybe not managed like him. Let's get the Legia view then. We can get it from Legia.com journalist Emil Kaminski. Good evening, Emil. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us. Are you well? Are you happy from a Legia perspective at the moment?
Well, generally Legia is in favourite. I think Legia is in favourite of the tomorrow game, but the story says that even if Legia is favourite, she don't have to win. 2 years ago, it was the very similar situation. Legia were going to Krakow as a favourite, and she lost 4-0.
Wow.
So generally, the games between Legia and Wisla Krakow are the classics of our Ekstraklasa, and everyone is expecting for this game. Also, when Wisla or Legia were playing bad, now the Wisla don't have a good time. But I think this team can play for the championship, and I think they will be very, very high in the finish of the season.
Yeah, how have you assessed Legia's start to the season? Because obviously won 3 games first and foremost, but then they've drawn the last 3. Are there any worries, any concerns about the form of Legia at the moment?
Yes, of course. Generally today, before the game, coach of Legia, Jan Urban, said that in Lubin, last game, Legia played bad, played awful, and the play of the Legia, with the players of the Legia were many problems, and he said the this draw was very lucky. Also, the draw in the Zabrze was very unlucky for Legia because she lost the second goal in the 92nd minute, I think.
Yeah.
And generally, you have these both results, 2-2 in Zabrze, unlucky 2-2 in Lubin, lucky for Legia. But also, coach said that for every team, for every Polish team, playing against Legia is something is a great game. And even if another team is playing against Gliwice, Podbeskidzie, and so on, if they have problems against Legia, they were playing very, very well, because Legia is legendary for the Polish football, and something like Bayern Munich in Germany, and everyone is thinking only to beat Legia. And if you will beat Legia, you are very good, and the supporters are very, very satisfied after this result.
Yeah, big motivation for the opponents of Legia. What about the financial problems, the money problems at Legia Warszawa? Will they need to sell players soon?
I didn't hear about it, and I wouldn't like to say about it.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
How about Saganowski? Because he was the player who rescued the point in Lubin for
nine goals in
so
all,
far
all competitions for
in
Saganowski.
season. So how important for Legia is Saganowski tomorrow?
I think that both players in attack, Saganowski and Leroy, are very important, and the cooperation between them looks very good. When Saganowski didn't score, his passing to Leroy, when Leroy doesn't score, he's passing to Saganowski, and generally the cooperation between them looks excellent. There is one curiosity, because Leroy in this season in league, of course, is scoring only in Łazienkowska, and Saganowski is scoring only in away games. So, yes, for sure.
Emil,
both of them, and both of them have 4 goals, and they are in the top of the top scorers for now after the 6 days.
Emil, give us a prediction quickly before you go. What's your prediction for Friday night, the big game?
I hope that Legia will win 2-0.
2-0. Fantastic. Great to speak to you, Emil. Really appreciate it. And enjoy the game at the Pepsi Arena tomorrow night.
Okay, thank you very much, and all the best for you.
Great stuff. Thank you, sir. Right, we've got Agatali's cake here, the chocolate cheesecake. Gentlemen, get yourself a piece of this quickly.
Let's get Krakow.
Come on.
Agata made it. I've got it.
Mexican hangover. Be down to get it down you. And Bartek, always get a big piece, Bartek. Leave me the little piece, please.
I love the smallest one.
It's all right. Coming off after the break, we'll continue our build-up to the weekend's games, including that massive derby of Poland, they call it, Legia Warszawa against Wisla Krakow. Before we go, though, just a little treat for Robert Błaszczak.
Come on.
I think his warm-up attempts for the tennis ball test.
You didn't! You didn't! This is mean, show me that. Welcome back to part 3 of Ekstraklasa Ekstratime. Still very fortunate, feeling very privileged to have the Polish Peter Crouch alongside me with his wonderful touches demonstrated throughout the course of the show. Right, it's time for Bartek Zielinski, our Wisła fan. How did you find the tennis ball test?
Quite pleasing.
Was it a surprise for you?
I looked better than some of the Wisła players during Piast games. So.
Well, let's take a look at it. I'll tell you what, Bartek came out of the studio after filming the tennis ball test completely out of breath. I think he was doing a marathon in here, not just keeping the ball up. But let's take a look at Bartek's tennis ball test. 24/7 was it, Bartek?
Yeah.
Happy with that?
Yeah, better than Wisla.
Use of the knee was seemingly good. You taking notes, Chris Graham, about that?
I'm just want to beat you, but I think that's going to be very difficult. You should be in the England team with that kind of score.
You're telling me, mate. It should be, shouldn't I? But, dodgy hip. What can I say? Right, we've been watching Polish football for 6 weeks or so, getting on for 7 weeks. We've noticed something slightly strange about the league. You think British football is trigger happy when it comes to managers. Lose one game, probably your job's almost on the line in Poland. Lose a couple, and you're almost definitely fired. We've seen 4 managers now go, and we can look at the list of those that have fallen by the wayside, headed up by the manager of last season's champions and last season's runners-up.
That's the beauty of Polish football, and it was on the cards from the beginning of the season that we kind of expected someone will lose a job.
So just put that in context. Their first title for 25 years,
Wrocław,
and he's out after 4 games. That just seems incredible.
Incredible, but the atmosphere in the team broken down before they won the title. It was like a few months before. It was a few months before the atmosphere inside the team. They were against the
This is Lenčík,
but
Oris Lenčík. But you think that you're saying this about the players, and you said about Wisła Krakow, and we can look at the managers sacked already. But you're saying it's the players, not the fans. In England, it tends to be the fans, but it tends to be the players more often.
It's like Dan Petrescu. He was once Wisła Krakow manager. Yeah. He was fired because players didn't like his style of coaching. It was too hard for them, so they just
too heavy practice. Exactly. That's precisely the reason.
So they just did Italian strike. They didn't play.
Well, we can bring in Michał Gida, a Polish correspondent for us, I believe, based in Warsaw or Warszawa. Michał, fantastic to speak to you. Are you well? We're just talking about all the managers that either get fired or resign from their positions in Poland. 4 so far.
Good evening, guys. Nice to speak to you too. I mean, that's what happens all the time in here. You said about comparing to the situation in England. It's all a different story. I mean, here is it's a circus with the managers and the numbers of managers switched and went to a different clubs and dismissed. I mean, look, if you only analyze the longest working managers, you would see that they stay for a year or so, that's maximum. And it is a fact that players actually dismiss managers. It was in Śląsk Wrocław. Now same thing happened in Wisła Krakow. And there's an interesting fact which I've heard. It was mid-September that when Pogoń has beaten Wisła, one of my journalist mates spoke to Probierz after the game, straight after the game, and Probierz admitted he's already packed his bag. So, not now. He was dismissed this week. He knew it for weeks. It was just a matter of time. And if you watch Wisła players and their performance against Piast, you would actually see that they were on the path to dismiss their own manager. Simple as that. That's the same which happened in Śląsk Wrocław. I mean, Wisła situation, because that's the loudest, that's the biggest dismiss of the manager. We're talking about Probierz. Is complicated. If you look at Wisła Krakow.
Well, actually, Michał, sorry to interrupt. We can actually look at, I think, the graphic of some of the results for Michał Probierz leading up to his resignation. This is Oris Lenčík, actually. We're going to do the manager of Śląsk Wrocław. What about Oris Lenčík? Did you feel sorry for him as the man that brought the title to Śląsk Wrocław for the first time? What Chris was saying, 25 years.
Well, I've heard from his own players in season backwards, they simply dislike the guy. And, Omar Diaz called one of my mates, it was last season, and they spoke in Spanish it was off record. And my mate told me that he used such swear words in Spanish for Lenčík that he couldn't even understand them. Players simply didn't like the guy. With all the respect to his experience and everything, I feel that the manager needs the line of understanding with the players. I'm not saying he's going to be the one. He's the boss anyway. What happens? He's the boss, but he needs the line of acceptance with the team, and he didn't have that.
Well, let's look at the Wisła results then now for Michał Probierz in the build-up to his dismissal. 11th in the table in Ekstraklasa at the time that he actually resigned, fell on his own sword after the game against PS Gliwice. And they had that win, didn't they, in the cup, and they also won against Legia Gdansk in the league. But I tell you what,
3 defeats.
You could see it coming, could you?
Of course, I mean it's a whole different story with Wisla. It's complicated, and it doesn't. It's not the coach's fault, in my opinion. I mean, you look at Mr. Maskant, you look at Mr. Moskal, and now you look at Mr. Probierz, and whoever's going to be next, they are not the problem of the club. The club has a problem with a bunch of individuals who are overpaid and are underperforming. Simple as that. I mean, the problem is that Wisla has signed long-term contracts and big contracts with players like Pilk, Garguła, Kenkov, and few others that you need to look at. And these guys are underperforming. You can't get rid of them so easily because you have to pay them a lot of money. And they are the problem of Wisla.
What about the new manager at Wisla then, the legend Tomasz Kuławik? Do you think he's going to get bigger support, better support?
I tell you, he's only a guy to clean the mess up. I mean, today he was one of the newspapers actually. That Smuda, former national coach team, he's still in the lineup for the job, and I simply believe that. I mean, and the news is that he doesn't want to take the team right now. He will take over in next year. Why? Simple as that. Someone needs to change the squad, and he doesn't want to be responsible for the bunch of underperforming individuals.
Fair enough.
I think Kuławik is the guy to clean up the mess, and most probably Smuda will take over to build a new Wisla.
Interesting stuff. Quick prediction for you, Michał Gida. Give us a prediction of the game tomorrow night. Wisla going to Legia. What do you think is going to happen?
One interesting fact, if you guys look at Polish Ekstraklasa, after the managers are switched, and especially in situations when the players, as we say, dismiss managers, they do want to make up in the next game. So they play really well. So that's what I expect of Wisla. However, they are going to Legia, strong Legia at home. However, without the support of their fans, and that makes me think of 1-0 and draw at Pepsi Arena.
Draw. Lovely stuff, Michał Gida. Fantastic to speak to you. We'll catch up with you again very soon. We'll ask you, Bartek, your thoughts on Wisla and the game, of course, as we build up. But now, before we go to our next break, we'll leave you with our sacked manager montage. 4 managers gone in the space of 6 weeks. We pay tribute to them here on Ekstraklasa Ekstratime. Welcome back to Ekstraklasa Ekstratime. Still trying to nurture Robert Błaziak's ego after his absolute humiliation in a tennis ball test earlier on. But we are building up in earnest to the weekend. 3 live games again on Sports Tonight from Poland's top flight, exclusive to the television screens. All starts Friday night, as we've been talking about. 7 p.m. we're on air, building up to the big match at the Pepsi Arena. Legia of Warsaw against Wisla Krakow. Chris Graham, Legia coming off 3 draws. Michał Gida says draws possibly where it goes now with the momentum perhaps with Wisla a little bit after the managerial change?
I think, like I said, I think that's the key, the fact that the manager... I mean, Legia, no disgrace drawing Polonia, I thought.
Yeah.
But I think there was a disgrace drawing with Zagłębie.
Coming from behind twice against Zagłębie last weekend.
They
so
did. I thought they'd be
form.
too strong. They let down a lot of backers as well, who had them at 2.05. So for me, I couldn't fully trust Legia, but I think they'll get the job done. And I think Wisla have got a lot on their plate. I don't think it's enough to win at the Pepsi.
And draw seems to be often, and we saw not last weekend, the weekend before, 3 draws live on Sports Tonight. It's not necessarily a bad bet if a draw suits both teams, which it might suit both teams here.
I mean, on that occasion, I think it would looks like it would suit both sides, but that's because of precisely for the reason that Kulawi is a new manager. I think they will go for it. The players will try to prove it, and they will either win it or they will be exposed and lose it. So I'd actually fancy 1 or 2 rather than X.
Do you expect Bartek, Ilic, Melikson, Genkov, all these players to suddenly start showing us what they haven't shown us, suddenly click for the new manager?
I think what Kulawi will say them just before the game is you've got nothing to lose, basically.
Yeah.
Because if you lose against Legia, we in their current form, nobody's gonna blame you. So just go there and just show what they can do, you know. And I think it may be. I mean, I never bet on my own team, but speaking from my heart, 2-1 for Wisla.
Oh,
speaking for you, you said 1-0 to Wisla on Monday, of course, when they lost 2-0 to PS.
And my heart was broken. So I hopefully tomorrow.
Do you sense that Legia are a little bit vulnerable, coming off 3 draws? Is their steam run out
a
little bit?
They are vulnerable. They are very, their minds. The weakness is in their minds. They can lose 2-1, 2-0. And they concentrate themselves, and that's where
they lose the focus.
And that's how Lubin. That's how Lubin achieved the draw. So there is a chance for Wisla, you know.
Well, question marks against all the teams, and Legia's defence possibly as well of all the Ekstraklasa teams. And sometimes they do switch off.
It's something that I think it's common across all teams. Just like conceding goals from headers, from the crosses, that defence sometimes they lack some stuff composure, some stuff leadership. This is one of the biggest problems. Like all the teams actually have witnessed that. We have witnessed that with all teams.
We can look at the odds then, the betting situation, how the markets, the compilers, what they reckon of this one. Interesting, Chris, isn't it, to see how they price this up, I suppose.
Yeah, and I noticed a few mistakes in the opening 2 weeks, but they're getting a bang
Legia
on
favourites, big favourites.
Legia favourites. I think that's a fair price, 5 to 6 at home. I think a share of odds on it.
What do you think of nearly 3 to 1 for a draw? Not far off.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably the value out of a lot. I think Wisla at 130 doesn't really appeal to me. They've shown nothing this season to make me want to back them at 4.33 against the best team in Poland for me. So for me, if I was having a bet, you're right, put a small stake on the draw, but it's a match to be savoured.
Yeah, and I think
in the same time,
Pareko's probably having nightmares about facing Saganovsky and Leboja, isn't he?
But look, in the same time, I think there were mistakes on both sides when Legia played Górnik. So it's not that we can only say that Wisla may concede some early goals. I mean, the way how Legia played in the last 2 or 3 matches, I don't think they are as big as the odds would suggest.
No. And Podbeskicia game as well, 1-0 down for the 80 minutes. Huh?
Well, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. It's Friday live, 7 p.m. We're building up to this one. And then Sunday, join us from 3:30, Śląsk Wrocław against Polonia Warszawa. And as we know from watching Polonia away from home so far, very, very dangerous on the counter-attack.
I'm all over Polonia in this game.
Yeah, Tidorczyk, Shoik, the pace those guys have got.
Absolutely, they really impressed me. I think you can back them at 16 to 1 to win the title, which I think it's a reasonable bet.
Would you want to see the odds for this? It could be interesting.
Here we go. Yeah. So Polonia 11 to 5. They've copped on a bit, the bookmakers. I was expecting perhaps 3 to 1, but you've got 11.
That would be hilarious. Józef Wojciechowski, the ex-owner of Poland, he always wanted to win the championship, and now it's gonna happen. It may happen, but without him.
And this is the guy that the previous owner had an all-Brazilian team.
These odds are crazy, absolutely crazy. I mean, for Śląsk to be favourites for that match, it's
how could you back a team that lost 4-1 to Górnik last week?
It's nice to put 10 around.
Śląsk, another team we should reiterate, they've got a new manager as well.
Oh, that's a good
mix. That's Levy, former Albania manager, is that right?
Well, in Albania, he actually won the championship in Albania, the title there. Something what appeared to me with Śląsk is that some of the players came back, so I thought, okay, look, the Śląsk will actually go up the ladder, but then they lost heavily at Górnik, last weekend.
Very inconsistent.
And now against Polonia with so much pace, so much creativity up front.
Górnik Zabrze doing very well as well. We haven't really talked about them. One of 2 unbeaten teams along with Legia, Warsaw League. Then Monday night, tea time Monday to be exact, building up to this game, Jagiellonia versus Legia Gdansk, which is,
This is-
Chris
this
Graham,
is
one where you're
fine.
going to look at results. Surely the draw. What are the odds
no,
here?
no,
Because
no,
Jagiellonian
yeah.
have drawn 4 of their 6 games so
You
far.
know- that-
Exactly,
yeah.
but the thing about this is fascinating. Jagiellonian fantastic at home last season against Legia, fantastic on their travels. So it's a real, coming up against each other here. But Jagiellonian for me been really disappointing this season. I expect them to be the top 6. I think they've only won 1 game, so I wouldn't be getting involved.
Only lost 1 game though, Robert, so
Look,
it's difficult to beat.
The crazy thing about this match is that these sides played yesterday in the Polish Cup. It was 2-2 draw, and Jagiellonia won on penalties,
penalties, yeah.
5-6 or 4-5.
So the draw
So
is
basically,
probably
the draw is
draw.
written over it. And Tomasz Kupisz, who once was trainee at Wigan, he scored at both ends. First an own goal, and then he equalised with equally nice header. So I fancy a draw big time here.
And let's have a look at some of the other fixtures for this weekend. And always fascinated to see where the twists and turns will be. I suppose Friday night, Rook Horsdorf up against GKS Bohatov. Bohatov have changed their manager, got their first points on the back of doing that last weekend.
Rook gone for 3 in a row. I'll tell you the one that sticks out for me, Ed. If I was having a bet this weekend, my main bet in Poland this weekend is Górnik away to Podbeskidzki. Winless Podbeskidzki against a Górnik team in fantastic form. You can get them.
Górnik have won 2 of 6 they've drawn
They have,
4. So
they're unbeaten, and they can get them at 2.75 against probably the worst team in Poland in Ekstraklasa. That for me is the bet of the weekend.
quite difficult games to call, the other two, aren't they? On Saturday, Korona Kielce versus Głębia Lubin and Lech Poznan versus PS Gliwice. I couldn't see it. I couldn't predict those ones very easily.
There can be surprise.
Yeah.
It can
I mean,
go
they can
either
go.
way.
It can go other way, but it can go like the Piast can build up on the win with.
Yeah, but
Wisla.
they're going for 5 wins in a row. aren't they, PS?
Imagine every single game of Piast, they're better and better. They're getting better and better. So you never know. And Lech, surprisingly,
Give me a quick prediction for Big Friday game. We'll speak to you tomorrow, but as you stand, what's your bet on Legia
I think
versus
the
Wisła?
values with the draw. It's got to be with the draw. Huh?
And we know 2-1 for Bartek. What are you going for?
Well, if it's true that the players played against the manager, Wisła should win it.
Robert, we'll let you go. You need to practice your tennis ball skills,
Oh,
of course. We'll
God.
see you again soon after the winter break. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you on Ekstraklasa Extra Time. We hope to welcome you back in the very near future if Robert can improve on his tennis ball skills. We'll see you Friday night for the big game from Warsaw, Legia against Wisła Krakow. Join us from 7. Coming up next, though, I'll be still on the not on the couch, on a chair for Thursday Night Live, looking at the Europa League game. So stay with us here on Sports Tonight. Goodbye for now. Thanks for being with us.